Part 2. The Human Response High Executor. Valen stared at the debris field where 30 of his ships had been. Impossible. These humans were supposed to be primitive. His intelligence report said they had barely mastered basic fusion drives. Their weapons were crude. Their military was fragmented across hundreds of nations, but those intelligence reports were 50 years old. 50 years was a long time for a species like humanity. War Master Korath, Valen commanded. What is your assessment? The military commander studied the tactical display. Korath had fought in 40 campaigns across the Empire. He had conquered species far more advanced than these humans were supposed to be. But something felt wrong about this situation. They were ready for us, Korath said carefully. That moon was a trap. Those weapon systems took decades to build. They knew someone would come eventually. They prepared. Impossible. They couldn't have known about us. They didn't need to know about us specifically. They just needed to know someone would come. And clearly they decided to be ready. Valen slammed his fist against the armrest of his command chair. It doesn't matter. We have 600 ships. They have what? Maybe 100? We will crush them, Korath said nothing. He had learned long ago not to argue with high executors. But he made a mental note to be cautious. These humans had already surprised them once. On Earth, the 72-hour countdown continued. But humanity wasn't cowering in fear. Instead, the entire planet mobilized with the efficiency of a species that had done this drill 1,000 times. Engineer Minji worked in a facility hidden deep beneath the Korean peninsula. Around her, technicians made final preparations to weapon systems that had been theoretical until 3 years ago. Directed energy weapons that could burn through any known shielding. Quantum jammers that could disrupt enemy communications. And her personal project, the Hammer. How long until the Hammer is ready? Admiral Taemin asked over the secure channel. 6 hours, Minji replied. But sir, you understand what it will do? Once we use it, there's no going back. Every species in the galaxy will know what we're capable of. That's exactly the point, Taemin said. We're not hiding anymore. Let them know. Let them all know. Across the solar system, Earth's true military strength revealed itself. The asteroid belt, that ring of rocks between Mars and Jupiter, began to move. Hundreds of asteroids that had seemed natural were actually hollowed out and converted into warships over the past 30 years. Lieutenant Hei-Wan sat in the cockpit of her fighter, hidden inside one of these asteroid ships. Around her, 99 other pilots waited in their crafts. They were the first strike squadron, and they had trained their entire lives for this moment. All pilots, this is Admiral Taemin, the voice came through their headsets. The Valdran fleet is approaching Mars orbit. They think they outnumber us. They think they can bully us into submission because they've done it 83 times before. Let's show them why 84 is different. Launch in 30 seconds. Hei-Wan gripped her controls. Her hands were steady. Fear was natural, her instructors had taught her. But so was courage. She thought about her family and soul. Her younger brother who looked up to her. Her parents who had survived the unification wars. They had fought for a united Earth. Now she would fight for a free Earth. 10 seconds. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, launch! The asteroid opened like a flower, and 100 fighters screamed into space. Across the belt, the same thing happened from 200 other hidden bases. 20,000 fighters, each one piloted by a human who had trained for years, who knew the stakes, who refused to surrender. The Valdran fleet detected them immediately. War Master Korath watched his screens fill with red contacts. What in the name of the ancestors? Fighters, his tactical officer reported. 20,000 of them. Maybe more. Launch interceptors. All ships, defensive formation. This is just, he never finished the sentence. The human fighters didn't attack in waves. They attacked in a swarm with coordination that suggested a hive mind. But it wasn't a hive mind. It was something the Valdran had never encountered. 20,000 individual humans all thinking independently, all working toward the same goal, and they didn't fight fair. The first wave of human fighters released thousands of small objects. The Valdran sensors initially dismissed them as debris. By the time they realized these were mines, it was too late. The mines activated, creating an expanding field of explosions that disabled shields across the Valdran vanguard. The second wave fired missiles. But these weren't normal missiles. They were smart, equipped with AI systems that had been learning and evolving for decades. Each missile chose its own target, adjusted its trajectory to avoid countermeasures, and struck at the weakest points in Valdran armor. 12 Valdran ships exploded in the first 30 seconds. "Return fire," Valen screamed. "Kill them all!" But the human fighters were fast, smaller, and they used tactics the Valdran had never seen. They flew in patterns that seemed random but were actually mathematically optimized. They used the debris field from destroyed ships as cover. They coordinated attacks without apparent communication, making them impossible to jam. Korath realized the truth with growing horror. These humans fought like they had been at war for centuries. And in a way they had been. Just with each other. "High Executor," Korath said urgently. "We need to retreat and reassess." "Retreat? We outnumber them 3-1. Numbers don't matter if we can't hit them. These pilots are better trained than ours. Their tactics are more sophisticated. And I think this is just their opening move." Valen refused to listen. "All ships advance toward the third planet. Ignore the fighters. We'll destroy their homeworld. Let's see how brave they are when their families burn." The Valdran fleet pushed forward, using their larger ships to swat away the fighters like insects. They took losses, but they pressed on. Earth grew larger in their view screens. That blue-green planet that held 8 billion humans. Admiral Taman watched the Valdran fleet advance. They had bypassed the asteroid belt just as he predicted. They were heading straight for Earth. "Perfect. All stations activate the planetary defense grid," he ordered. President Dayun stood beside him in the command center. "How many will we lose?" she asked quietly. "The grid? None. The shield satellites are automated. If we lose any, they're replaceable." He paused. "But some of our pilots won't come home." "They know that." "They volunteered anyway, because they're human," Dayun said softly. "Because they're human." Taman agreed. The Valdran fleet crossed the orbit of Mars. They were 3 hours from Earth at their current speed. Valen felt satisfaction. These humans had fought well, but now they would learn the price of defiance. Then Earth lit up. Thousands of satellites that the Valdran had assumed were for communication suddenly activated. Energy weapons, railguns, missile platforms. The entire planet was surrounded by a defensive grid that made the moon's defenses look minor. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what came from the planet itself. Mass drivers on the surface fired projectiles at incredible speeds. Orbital elevators that the Valdran thought were for cargo transport rotated and became massive launch rails. Defensive platforms that had been disguised as space stations revealed their true purpose, and then the hammer activated. Minji watched her creation come to life. The hammer was simple in concept, a directed gravitational pulse generator. It created a focused gravity wave that could disable ship systems without destroying them. It was a mercy weapon in a way. It gave the enemy a chance to survive. The wave hit the front line of the Valdran fleet. 50 ships suddenly went dark, their systems overwhelmed by the gravitational distortion. They didn't explode. They just stopped, floating dead in space. "Second wave," Admiral Taman ordered. The human fighters that had been harassing the Valdran fleet suddenly broke off their attack. They scattered, getting clear of the kill zone. Because what came next was much worse. Earth's main fleet uncloaked. 300 warships that had been hiding in the shadow of the moon suddenly appeared, their weapons already charged and locked on targets. War Master Korath knew they had lost. "High Executor, we must retreat." Now for once Valen listened. "All ships, fall back, fall back." But it was too late. They were in Earth's kill zone, and humanity had spent 200 years preparing for this exact scenario. The battle lasted 3 hours. When it was over, 400 Valdran ships were destroyed or disabled. Only 200 managed to escape back toward the edge of the solar system. Earth's losses: 12 automated defense platforms, 300 fighters, and 8,000 brave souls who knew the risks and accepted them anyway. Captain Hyunwoo watched the retreating Valdran fleet from Sentinel-7. He should have felt victorious. Instead, he felt tired. So many dead, human and alien both. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the Valdran fleet," Yuna reported. "Put it on." High Executor Valen's face appeared. The alien looked different now. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something else. "Fear, respect? What are you?" Valen asked. Hyunwoo thought about the question. What were humans? Warriors? Peacemakers? Survivors? "We're the species that said no," Hyunwoo replied. "Leave our system. Don't come back. And tell the rest of your empire Earth is not prey." Part 3. The Nature of Humanity. The surviving Valdrin ships limped away from Earth's solar system, trailing debris and leaking atmosphere. Inside the flagship, High Executor Valen sat in his command chair, staring at nothing. Around him, his bridge crew worked in silence. The arrogance that had filled this ship days ago was gone, replaced by shock. War Master Korath stood beside Valen, watching the tactical display. The numbers told a story that should have been impossible. They had started with 600 ships. Now they had fewer than 200 functional vessels, and they hadn't even reached the human homeworld. "Send a message to the Imperial Corps," Valen said quietly. His voice sounded hollow. "Tell them we have encountered a hostile species. Tell them Earth is dangerous." Korath hesitated. "High Executor, the Empress will demand to know why we failed. She will ask questions. Then I will answer them." Valen turned to look at Korath. "I will tell her the truth. These humans are not like the others. They don't fight to prove their bravery. They fight to win, and they're very, very good at it." The message was sent on a tight beam transmission toward the heart of the Valdrin Empire. 300 light-years away, at faster than light speed, it would arrive in 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, the Empire would know. In 3 weeks, decisions would be made, but 3 weeks was a long time. Back on Earth, the celebrations were brief. President Daun addressed the world from the United Nations building. Her face appeared on every screen, every device in every language. "We have won a battle," she said. "But the war may not be over. The Valdrin Empire spans 400 star systems. We defeated 1 fleet. They may send more. So we will not celebrate, not yet. Instead, we will prepare. We will mourn our dead. We will honor their sacrifice. And we will make sure it wasn't in vain." In Seoul, Lieutenant Haewon's family received a visitor. Captain Hyunwoo stood at their door, holding Haewon's flight helmet. She had survived the battle but died during the retreat when her damaged fighter's life support failed. She had stayed in the fight long enough to save 3 other pilots, even though she knew her own ship was dying. Haewon's mother took the helmet with shaking hands. Did she suffer? Hyunwoo had asked himself the same question 100 times. He decided to tell the truth. Her oxygen ran out. She would have lost consciousness quickly. But her last transmission, he pulled out a small recording device. "She wanted you to have this." They played it together. Haewon's voice filled the small apartment. "Mom, Dad, little brother, if you're hearing this, I didn't make it. Don't be sad. I knew what I was doing. I knew the risks. And I would do it again. Earth is free because people like me chose to fight. That's enough. That's everything. I love you." The recording ended. Haewon's father, a veteran of the Unification Wars himself, stood straight and saluted. Hyunwoo returned the salute. No words were needed. Across Earth, similar scenes played out 8,000 times. 8,000 families receiving the news. 8,000 funerals. 8,000 names added to the memorial wall that listed everyone who had died defending humanity. But Earth didn't stop. The factories that built weapons kept building. The training centers that prepared soldiers kept training. The scientists who designed new technologies kept innovating. Because President Daun was right. This might not be over. Dr. Ji Young worked in her office, analyzing every piece of data they had captured from the Valdrin ships. The battle had given them access to Valdrin computers, Valdrin technology, Valdrin communications. She read through translated files, learning about the empire that had threatened her world. What she found troubled her. "Admiral, you need to see this," she called Tai Min on the secure channel. The Admiral's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired. He probably hadn't slept since the battle ended 3 days ago. "What did you find?" "The Valdrin Empire isn't just large. It's old, over 1,000 years old. And in that time, they've conquered 83 species. But that's not the whole story." She pulled up a file. 27 species resisted. 27 species fought back just like we did. And all 27 were exterminated. Completely. The Valdrin hunted them down to the last individual. They destroyed their homeworlds. They even destroyed the ruins of their civilization so that nothing remained. "The Empire doesn't forgive resistance." Taemin was quiet for a long moment. "So we can expect them to come back. Not just come back. They'll come back with everything they have. This isn't about conquest anymore. It's about making an example. They can't let us survive or other species might get ideas." "Then we need allies," Taemin said. Are there other species in the Empire who might join us? Ji Young smiled slightly. Actually, yes. I've been analyzing their internal communications. At least 15 vassal species are considering rebellion. Our victory inspired them. They've been slaves for centuries, and we showed them that the Empire can be beaten. Contact them. Carefully. We need to know who we can trust. While Earth prepared for the next battle, something unexpected happened. A small Valdran ship appeared at the edge of the solar system. It broadcast on all frequencies. We surrender. We request asylum. Captain Hyunwoo, still stationed on Sentinel-7, received the message with confusion. A single ship wants to surrender? Should we blow it up? Yuna asked. It could be a trick. Hyunwoo thought about it. Every instinct said to be cautious. But something about the message felt genuine. Bring them in, under heavy guard, and scan that ship for anything that might be a weapon. The Valdran ship docked with Sentinel-7 2 hours later. The airlock opened and a single Valdran stepped through. It was smaller than High Executor Valen and its armor was damaged. It raised its hands in a gesture that might have been universal. I am Ship Commander Rion, it said through a translator. I have information about the Empire's plans. Information that might save your species. They brought Rion to a secure room. Hyunwoo sat across from the alien, studying it carefully. Why betray your empire? Because it's not my empire, Rion said. My species was conquered 200 years ago. We were the Torvani. We had art, culture, philosophy. The Valdran took it all. They made us serve on their ships, fight their wars, die for their expansion. I've been waiting 200 years for someone to stand up to them. You did, so I'm standing up too. What can you tell us? The Empress is mobilizing. Not just another fleet, the entire Imperial Armada. 2,000 ships, every battle-ready vessel in the Empire. They're stripping defenses from their core worlds to build this force. In 6 months, they'll arrive here. And they won't just try to conquer Earth. They'll try to destroy it. They'll crack your planet in half and scatter the pieces across space. The room went silent. 2,000 ships. Earth had barely survived against 600. Can we win? Hyunwoo asked. Rion's 4 eyes met Hyunwoo's too. Alone? No. Even with everything you showed us, you can't beat 2,000 ships. But you don't have to be alone. There are other species who want to be free. The Torveni, the Kelthans, the Mazari. All of us have been slaves. All of us want liberation. If you can unite us, if you can arm us, we might have a chance. Hyunwoo sent the recording of this conversation directly to Admiral Tae Min. Within hours, President Dawn called an emergency session of the world government. We have 6 months, Dawn said to the assembled leaders. 6 months to prepare for an enemy force 3 times larger than what we just faced. We can't do this alone. We need allies. We need to reach out to the species the Valdran have oppressed. We need to offer them what we fought for, freedom. The vote was unanimous. Earth would reach out. Earth would share its technology. Earth would build an alliance of free species. Dr. Ji Young led the first contact mission. Using coordinates provided by Rion, Earth's fastest ship traveled to the Torvani home system. What they found there was heartbreaking. The once beautiful world was now a factory planet, stripped of its forests and oceans, covered in industrial complexes that built weapons for the Empire. But the Torvani remembered their past. They remembered freedom, and when Ji Young offered them a chance to fight back, they accepted. Over the next 5 months, Earth contacted 15 species. 12 agreed to join the alliance. They called themselves the Free Worlds Coalition, not an empire, not a federation, just free worlds standing together. Earth shared its defensive technology. The Torvani contributed their knowledge of Valdran tactics. The Kelthans provided shipbuilding expertise. The Mazari had been scientists before their conquest and helped improve Earth's weapons. Admiral Tae Min coordinated the defense. They couldn't fight the Valdran in open space. 2,000 ships were too many, but they could make Earth's solar system into a fortress. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid became a defensive position. And in the center of it all, Earth stood ready. 6 months after the first battle, long-range sensors detected the Imperial Armada. 2,000 ships, the largest military force the Valdran Empire had ever assembled. Leading them was the Empress herself, determined to make an example of humanity. Captain Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of Sentinel-7, now the command center for the coalition defense. Around him, officers from 6 different species worked together. "Well," he said to Yuna, "here we go again." "Sir," Yuna said quietly, "what if we lose?" Hyunwoo thought about Haewon. Part 5. The New Paradigm 5 years after the battle for Earth. Captain Hyunwoo stood in the observation deck of Sentinel-7 and watched the steady stream of ships traveling between Earth and 100 different worlds. Human vessels mixed with Torvani, Kelthan, Mazari, and dozens of other species. Trade ships, passenger transports, diplomatic shuttles. The space around Earth was busier than the highways of ancient Seoul had been. It was strange how quickly things had changed. 5 years ago, humanity thought it was alone. Now Earth was the unofficial capital of the Free Worlds Coalition, a growing alliance of 78 species who had all decided that freedom was worth fighting for. But Hyunwoo knew the peace was fragile. The Valdran Empire still existed, diminished but not defeated. And there were other empires out there watching to see if the coalition would survive or collapse under its own weight. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Commander Yuna called from the command center. "It's flagged as urgent." Hyunwoo left the observation deck and returned to his station. The main screen showed Ambassador Kyung-soo, Earth's chief diplomat. The woman had aged in the past 5 years. The stress of building a galactic alliance from nothing had taken its toll. "Captain, we need you at the Coalition Assembly on Earth. Immediately." "What's happened?" "First contact. A new species, and they're not friendly." Hyunwoo took the next shuttle down to Earth. The Coalition Assembly Hall was built in Geneva, on the site where the United Nations used to meet. But this hall was bigger, designed to accommodate representatives from 78 different species, each with their own environmental needs. President Dayun stood at the central podium, looking older but stronger than she had 5 years ago. Around her, representatives from the coalition worlds waited in tense silence. Hyunwoo found his seat next to Admiral Tae-min, who had retired from active military duty but still served as a senior strategic advisor. "What's going on?" Hyunwoo whispered. "Watch," Tae-min replied, pointing to the main display. The screen showed a recording. A massive fleet of ships different from anything Hyunwoo had seen before. These vessels were organic-looking, grown rather than built, with curves and shapes that suggested living creatures. A voice came through the transmission, translated into multiple languages simultaneously. "Lesser species of this region. You have been detected by the hierarchy. Your existence is an affront to the natural order. Submit to incorporation within 3 cycles of your local star or face eradication. There is no negotiation. There is only compliance or death." The recording ended. Silence filled the hall. "They appeared at the edge of Coalition space 2 days ago," President Dawoon explained. "They've already destroyed a small colony on Kelthar 7, 30,000 dead. No warning, no mercy. They called it a demonstration of consequence." A Torvani representative stood up. "We must fight. We cannot allow another empire to threaten our freedom." "With respect," a Mazari ambassador interjected. "Our intelligence suggests this hierarchy is far larger than the Valdran Empire ever was. They claim to control over 1,000 star systems. We're still recovering from the last war. Can we afford another?" Arguments broke out across the hall. Some species wanted immediate military action. Others advocated for caution. A few suggested trying to negotiate, despite the hierarchy's claim that negotiation was impossible. President Daeun waited for the arguments to quiet down, then spoke. "The coalition was founded on a simple principle: free peoples defending each other. We will not abandon our members to face this threat alone, but we also will not rush into a war we might not win. We need information. We need to understand what we're facing." She turned to Admiral Tae-min. "Admiral, what are our options?" Tae-min stood up slowly. He was 70 now, but his mind was as sharp as ever. "We do what humanity has always done when facing a superior force. We learn, we adapt, we find their weakness. Every empire has one. What about our defenses?" A Kelthan representative asked. "Can we stop them if they attack?" "Honestly, I don't know," Tae-min admitted. "We've been building our military for 5 years, but we've also been building a civilian infrastructure. We're not purely a war machine anymore. We need time to prepare." Ambassador Kyung-soo stepped forward. "I propose we send a diplomatic mission, not to negotiate surrender but to learn about them, to understand their culture, their technology, their weaknesses." "They said no negotiation," someone pointed out. "They said there's no negotiation about submission," Kyung-soo corrected. They didn't say we couldn't talk. And while we're talking, we buy time for Admiral Taman's people to prepare our defenses. The motion was put to a vote. The decision was unanimous. Earth would send a diplomatic mission to the hierarchy, and Captain Hyunwoo would lead the military escort. The journey to hierarchy space took 3 weeks. The diplomatic ship was a joint effort, crewed by humans, Torveni, Kelthan, and Mazari working together. It was a symbol of what the coalition represented, different species cooperating toward a common goal. Dr. Ji Young led the diplomatic team. She had spent 5 years studying alien cultures and learning how to communicate across species barriers. If anyone could find a way to talk to the hierarchy, it was her. As they approached the coordinates the hierarchy had provided, Hyunwoo marveled at what he saw. A massive space station easily 10 times larger than any human construction. It was beautiful in a terrifying way, all organic curves and bioluminescent patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. "They're hailing us," the communications officer reported. The screen showed a being unlike anything in the coalition database. It was tall, maybe 12 feet, with crystalline skin that refracted light into rainbow patterns. Its face had no obvious features but somehow conveyed an impression of looking down on them with contempt. Lesser beings. "State your purpose," Dr. Ji Young stepped forward. "I am Dr. Ji Young, representative of the Free Worlds Coalition. We've come to discuss your ultimatum. There is nothing to discuss. Submit or die." "Why?" Ji Young asked simply. "Why do you demand submission? What have we done to threaten you?" The being seemed surprised by the question. "Done? You need not do anything. Your mere existence as independent entities is a disruption to the hierarchy's order. The galaxy must be unified under proper guidance. We provide that guidance. What if we refuse? Then you will be eliminated. This has been explained." Ji Young glanced at Hyunwoo, who gave a slight nod. They had learned what they needed to know. This hierarchy was like the Valdrin Empire, but worse. At least the Valdrin had wanted slaves. The hierarchy just wanted obedience or extinction. "Thank you for clarifying your position," Ji Young said. "Now let me clarify ours. The Free Worlds Coalition will not submit. Not today, not ever. We've fought one empire already. We'll fight another if we must." "You fought the Valdrin," the being said dismissively. "The Valdrin were weak, decadent, spread too thin across their territory. We are not like them. We are unified, purpose-driven, inevitable." "Maybe," Ji Young agreed. "But here's something you should know about humanity and our allies. We're stubborn. We're creative, and we're really, really good at surviving. The Valdrin learned that the hard way. You can learn it the same way, or you can leave us alone. Your choice." The being's crystalline face somehow conveyed amusement. "Remarkable. You actually believe you can resist very well? We will demonstrate why resistance is futile. In 30 days, we will arrive at your home system with a fleet of 5,000 ships. We will destroy your homeworld. We will exterminate your species and every species that stands with you, and the galaxy will learn what happens to those who defy the hierarchy." The transmission ended. Captain Hyunwoo let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. 5,000 ships. That's more than double what the Valdrin sent. "I know," Ji Young said quietly, "but we needed to know what we were facing. Now we do." They returned to Earth with the news. The Coalition Assembly immediately declared a state of emergency. Every species contributed what they could to the defense. The Torveni provided ships. The Kelthan shared their knowledge of biotechnology, hoping to counter the hierarchy's organic vessels. The Mazari helped improve defensive systems, and humanity did what it had always done best. It innovated under pressure. Engineer Min Ji developed a new version of the hammer, powerful enough to affect organic ships. Dr. Jun created nanobots that could infiltrate and disable biotechnology. Colonel Sung Ho designed new defensive platforms specifically for the upcoming battle. But everyone knew it might not be enough. 5,000 ships against maybe 800 coalition vessels. The numbers were overwhelming. Admiral Taman called a meeting of the coalition's top military commanders. Representatives from 20 species gathered in the war room, studying the tactical displays. "We can't win a straight fight," Taman said bluntly. "They outnumber us 6-1 and their technology might be superior to ours. So we don't fight fair. We use every advantage we have." "What advantages?" a Torveni commander asked. "They're bigger, stronger, more numerous." "They're arrogant," Hyunwoo said. "They think we're beneath them. They'll underestimate us just like the Valdrin did. We can use that." They also don't understand what the coalition represents, a Kelthan officer added. They see us as separate species that happen to be allied. Part 4. The Message. The Valdran Empress stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Dominion, and watched the human solar system grow closer. Around her, 2,000 warships moved in perfect formation. This was the largest fleet the Empire had assembled in 300 years. It was excessive, perhaps, but necessary. These humans had humiliated High Executor Valen. They had destroyed 400 Imperial ships. They had proven that resistance was possible. If the Empress didn't crush them absolutely, other vassal species might think rebellion was acceptable. She couldn't allow that. Deploy scout ships, she commanded. I want detailed scans of every defensive position. We will not be surprised again. The scouts spread out across the system. What they found made the Empress pause. The humans hadn't just prepared defenses. They had transformed their entire solar system into a fortress. Every planet had orbital weapons platforms. Every moon was armed. The asteroid belt was a minefield, and Earth itself sat at the center, surrounded by layers of defensive shields. But that wasn't the most troubling discovery. The scouts also detected ships that weren't human. Different designs, different energy signatures. The humans had allies. Identify those ships, the Empress ordered. Her intelligence officer studied the scans. Torvani vessels, Your Majesty. Also Keltan, Mazari, and others. It appears the humans have formed an alliance with our vassal species. The Empress felt something she hadn't experienced in decades. Concern. Individually, these species were weak. The Empire had conquered them easily. But united? With human technology? That changed the equation. How many ships do they have total? Approximately 400, Your Majesty. Including the human fleet. The Empress relaxed slightly. 400 against 2,000. The numbers still favored the Empire significantly. Prepare for assault. We will crush this rebellion before it spreads. On Sentinel-7, Captain Hyunwoo watched the Imperial Armada approach. Beside him, Admiral Taemin coordinated the defense. The old admiral looked calm, but Hyunwoo knew him well enough to see the tension in his shoulders. Admiral, we're outnumbered 5-1, Hyunwoo said quietly. Yes, Taemin agreed, but we're not trying to destroy them all. We just need to make them bleed enough that they decide we're not worth the cost. And if they don't? Taemin smiled grimly. Then we make them bleed until there's nothing left. Theirs or ours. The first wave of the Imperial Armada entered weapons range, 500 ships advancing in tight formation. The Valdran had learned from their previous defeat. They weren't rushing in. They were being methodical. All defensive positions hold fire, Taemin ordered. Let them come closer. The Valdran ships advanced. 1 million kilometers, 500,000, 100,000. They were almost in optimal firing range for Earth's weapons when Taemin gave the order. Now, the solar system lit up. Every defensive platform, every hidden weapon, every ship in the coalition fleet opened fire simultaneously. The coordinated barrage hit the Valdran vanguard like a hammer, but these ships were prepared. Their shields held. They returned fire and space filled with energy beams, missiles, and railgun projectiles. The battle for Earth had begun. Engineer Minji watched from her facility on Earth as the hammer activated again. The gravitational pulse swept through the Valdran formation, disabling shields and disrupting their targeting systems. But the Empress had prepared for this. Within seconds, the Valdran ships activated backup systems and continued fighting. The battle was brutal. Ships on both sides exploded. Debris filled the space between Earth and Mars. The coalition forces fought with desperate courage, but the numbers were against them. Admiral Taemin watched his tactical display with growing concern. They were losing, slowly but steadily. For every Valdran ship destroyed, the coalition lost 2. At this rate, they would be overwhelmed within hours. Then the unexpected happened. A Valdran battlecruiser suddenly turned and fired on its sister ships. Then another. Then a dozen more. What's happening? The Empress demanded. Rebellions, Your Majesty, her intelligence officer reported with shock. Multiple ships crewed by vassal species are turning against us. The Torvani, the Keltans, the Mazari, species that had been forced to crew Valdran warships for generations. They had been waiting for this moment. Waiting for a sign that rebellion was possible. Earth had given them that sign. The Imperial Armada descended into chaos. Ships fought each other. Formations broke apart. The careful strategy the Empress had planned collapsed. But even with the rebellions, the Empire still had numerical superiority. The battle continued for 6 hours. 6 hours of constant combat that lit up the solar system like a second sun. In the middle of the fight, disaster struck the Coalition. A Valdran dreadnought broke through the defensive lines and locked its weapons on Sentinel-7. Admiral Taemin saw it coming, but there was no time to evade. All hands, brace for impact. He ordered the dreadnought fired. Its main cannon, powerful enough to crack a moon, aimed directly at the station. But before the blast could strike, a Coalition warship threw itself into the path. The ship's captain was a Torveni named Kelra, who had lost her entire family to Valdran occupation. For freedom, Kelra transmitted, her last words before her ship absorbed the blast and exploded. Her sacrifice gave Taemin time to act. He targeted the dreadnought with every weapon the station had and fired. The massive Valdran ship broke apart under the concentrated barrage, but the cost was terrible. Taemin looked at the casualty reports streaming across his screen. Thousands dead, hundreds of ships destroyed. Earth itself had taken damage from long-range bombardment, though the planetary shields held. "We can't sustain this," Captain Hyunwoo said. Taemin knew he was right. They were winning the battle but losing the war. Even if they destroyed the entire Imperial Armada, the cost would leave Earth defenseless against the next attack. And there would be a next attack. The Empire was vast. "Contact the Empress," Taemin ordered. "Direct channel." The Empress appeared on the screen. Her bridge was damaged, smoke drifting through the air behind her. She looked tired, old. "Admiral Taemin," she said, "have you called to surrender?" "No," Taemin replied. "I called to give you a choice. End this now. Take your remaining ships and leave, or keep fighting and watch your empire crumble. Because even if you win here, you've lost. Your vassal species are rebelling. Your fleet is broken. Your reputation for invincibility is destroyed. How many more worlds will rise up while you're here fighting us?" The Empress was silent for a long moment. She looked at her own tactical display, at the rebellion spreading through her fleet, at the casualty reports. "What do you propose?" she asked finally. "A truce. Take your loyal ships and leave. We'll let you go. We'll even let you keep your empire if you can hold it together. But Earth is free. Our allies are free, and any species that wants to leave your empire will be welcome in the Free Worlds Coalition. You're asking me to accept the end of the empire. I'm giving you a chance to save what's left of it. Right now you have maybe 1,000 ships still under your control. Keep fighting and you'll have none. The species you enslaved have been waiting centuries for a chance to be free. We gave them that chance. Now you choose. Adapt or die." The Empress looked at Taemin with something that might have been respect. "You would have made a good Valdran." "No," Taemin said. "I'm human. We've done the empire thing before on our own world. It never ends well." The Empress considered. Her advisors were shouting, demanding she continue the fight. But she was old and she was wise. She knew when a battle was lost, even if the war could technically continue. "Very well," she said. "But know this, Admiral. If any Coalition ship enters Valdran space, if any of your allies attack our remaining territories, we will respond with total war." "Fair enough," Taemin agreed. "And if any Valdran ship enters Coalition space, we'll destroy it. We understand each other." The transmission ended. The Empress gave the order to retreat. Of the 2,000 ships that had entered the solar system, only 800 left. The rest were destroyed or had joined the rebellion. Captain Hyunwoo stood beside Admiral Taemin, watching the Imperial Armada withdraw. "Did we just win?" he asked. "We survived," Taemin replied. "That's as close to winning as anyone gets in war." But as the Valdran ships disappeared into the distance, alarms suddenly blared. A Coalition destroyer was disabled and drifting, its crew in danger. Hyunwoo looked at the ship's identity. It was a Valdran vessel that had rebelled during the battle, now crewed by Torveni. "Sir, that ship has 200 survivors," Yuna reported, "but its life support is failing. They have maybe an hour." Hyunwoo thought about his orders. Security protocols said to let enemy personnel drift, but these weren't enemies anymore. They had fought beside humanity. They had chosen freedom. "Dispatch rescue ships," Hyunwoo ordered. "All available shuttles. We're bringing them in." "Sir, Admiral Taemin's standing orders." "I'm changing them," Hyunwoo interrupted. "Those people fought for us. We don't leave our own behind." The rescue took 45 minutes. All 200 Torveni were saved. When they arrived on Sentinel-7, their leader approached Hyunwoo. It was Ship Commander Rion, the first Torveni to defect. "You saved us," Rion said, "even though it put your station at risk during the retreat." The Empire threatened Earth, received a fatal warning and return story outline. 5-part series. Part 1, The Ultimatum Setting. The year is 2247. Earth has quietly developed into a modest spacefaring civilization, maintaining a low profile in the galaxy. The Valdran Empire, a sprawling interstellar dominion spanning 400 star systems, discovers humanity's existence. Key characters: Captain Hyunwoo, commander of Earth's defense station Sentinel-7, a pragmatic military officer with 20 years of experience. Dr. Ji-young, chief xenolinguist and Earth's lead diplomat, brilliant but underestimated by the Empire. Admiral Tae-min, head of Earth's United Defense Fleet, strategic mastermind. Commander Yuna, Hyunwoo's second-in-command, tactical specialist. Empire. Representatives: High Executor Valen, arrogant leader of the Valdran delegation. War Master Korath, military commander of the Valdran fleet. Plot summary: a massive Valdran fleet emerges at the edge of Earth's solar system. High Executor Valen broadcasts an ultimatum. Humanity must surrender complete sovereignty, dismantle all weapons, and provide 30% of Earth's population as labor for Empire construction projects. They give Earth 72 hours to comply. The Empire considers humanity a primitive species that should be grateful for the opportunity to serve. Dr. Ji-young leads initial diplomatic talks, but the Valdran are dismissive and condescending. They've conquered 83 species before and expect humanity to follow the pattern: shock, despair, compliance. What the Valdran don't know: Earth's peaceful exterior hides centuries of unified military preparation. Humanity learned from its own bloody history and decided, never again. Ending hook. Admiral Tae-min calls an emergency meeting. Instead of discussing surrender, he asks one question: do we show them why Earth stayed quiet all these years? Part 2. The human response. Key characters. Introduced: Colonel Sung-ho, commander of Earth's covert weapon systems. Engineer Minji, designer of Earth's experimental defensive technology. President Da-eun, Earth's civilian leader, former military strategist. Plot summary: the 72-hour countdown begins. The Valdran Empire monitors Earth's communications, expecting to intercept panicked transmissions. Instead, they detect nothing. No mass hysteria, no emergency broadcasts. Just silence. Dr. Ji-young sends a single message to High Executor Valen: "We decline your offer. Leave our system within 24 hours." The Valdran fleet erupts in laughter. Valen interprets this as primitive bravado from a species that doesn't understand its situation. He orders a demonstration, the destruction of Earth's moon colony, home to 50,000 people, to show humanity the cost of defiance. The Valdran fleet advances toward Luna. That's when Earth reveals its first secret. The moon isn't just a colony, it's a fortress. Massive railgun batteries emerge from beneath the lunar surface. Directed energy weapons come online. The moon itself is weaponized. The Valdran vanguard of 30 ships is obliterated in 4 minutes. The Empire is stunned. This was supposed to be a primitive species. High Executor Valen, enraged and humiliated, orders the full fleet to advance. He has 600 warships. Surely that's enough. Character development: Hyunwoo wrestles with the moral weight of the coming battle, knowing millions will die. Ji-young reveals she wasn't trying to negotiate. She was stalling for fleet positioning. President Da-eun addresses Earth. "We gave them the choice. They chose violence." Ending hook. As the Valdran fleet crosses Mars orbit, Admiral Tae-min activates Earth's second line of defense. The asteroid belt isn't natural anymore. Hundreds of hollowed asteroids open up, revealing humanity's hidden armada. Part 3. The nature of humanity. Key characters introduced: Lieutenant Hae-won, fighter pilot, leads the 1st Strike Squadron. Dr. Jun, weapons researcher, created Earth's most devastating technology. Sergeant Bora, ground forces commander, prepares, For possible invasion plot summary, the Battle of the Belt begins. The Valdrin fleet outnumbers Earth's forces 3-1, but they quickly realize human warfare is different. Humanity doesn't fight with honor or follow galactic combat conventions. They fight to win. Human tactics include kamikaze drones with AI, piloting weaponized debris fields that shred shield cyber warfare that turns Valdrin ships against each other. Relativistic kinetic missiles that can't be dodged. War Master Korath recognizes the danger. These humans fight like they've been preparing for this exact scenario. Because they have been. Every war game, every simulation, every strategic plan for 200 years was built around one question. How do we survive first contact? The Valdrin lose 200 ships in the first engagement. High Executor Valen, desperate and furious, makes a fatal decision. He'll destroy Earth itself. If he can't conquer it, no one will have it. He orders the fleet to bypass the human armada and make directly for Earth with planet-killer weapons. This is exactly what Admiral Taman wanted. He allowed them to pass. As the Valdrin fleet approaches Earth, confident in their superior numbers, humanity reveals its final secret. Earth isn't defended by just the ships in space. The planet itself is a weapon. Thousands of ground-based mass drivers fire simultaneously. Orbital platforms deploy. Space elevators transform into vertical launch systems. Earth's atmosphere lights up with defensive fire that creates a wall of death around the planet. The Valdrin fleet is caught in a kill zone. They're too close to retreat and too committed to withdraw. Character development: Lieutenant Haywan leads a daring assault on the Valdrin flagship, showing the individual courage behind humanity's collective strength. Captain Hyun-woo coordinates the defense, revealing Earth's centuries of planning. Dr. Jun watches his creations work, troubled by their effectiveness. Ending Hook High Executor Valen, his fleet burning, sends one final transmission. Not a threat, a warning beacon to the rest of the Valdrin Empire. Stay away from Earth. They are not prey. They are predators. Part 4. The message. Key characters developed. Ambassador Kyung-soo steps forward as Earth's voice to the Galaxy Intelligence Officer. Su-bin intercepts and analyzes Empire communications. Captain Hyun-woo must make a crucial moral decision. Plot summary: the Battle of Earth ends. Of the 600 Valdrin warships, only 73 escape. Earth's losses: 12 military stations, 8,000 personnel. The disparity is shocking, but humanity doesn't celebrate. President Da-Yoon makes a calculated decision. They will allow the survivors to return home. Every retreating Valdrin ship is given safe passage. Earth wants those ships to spread the word. War Master Korath, now the highest-ranking Valdrin survivor, is granted a final meeting with Admiral Taemin before his departure. The conversation is tense. Korath: why did you let us live? We came to enslave you. Taemin: we're letting you live so you can deliver a message. Tell the Empire, tell the galaxy. Earth tried peace first. We offered you the chance to leave. Remember that. Korath: your mercy is a greater threat than your weapons. It means you're confident you'll win the next fight too. Taemin: there doesn't have to be a next fight. Intelligence Officer Subin begins intercepting communications across Valdrin space. The Empire is in chaos. Their military doctrine was built on intimidation and superiority. They've never encountered a species that fought back this effectively. Political factions within the Empire clash over whether to launch a full-scale war or sue for peace. Earth faces its own reckoning. They've revealed themselves to the galaxy. There's no going back to quiet isolation. Ambassador Kyung-soo prepares to make contact with other species, those who were conquered by the Valdrin and those who watched from the sidelines. Dr. Ji-young discovers something troubling in the Valdrin databases. Earth isn't the first species to resist. There were others. They were all exterminated. The Valdrin Empire doesn't forgive defiance. Captain Hyun-woo faces a moral crisis when he discovers a disabled Valdrin ship with 200 survivors drifting in space. His orders are to let them go, but the ship is dying. He must choose between security and humanity. Character development: Hyun-woo chooses mercy, rescuing the Valdrin crew, Showing Earth's values extend beyond victory, President Da-Yun reveals the burden of leadership. She would have sacrificed Earth's moon colony if necessary. Ambassador Kyung-soo begins crafting Earth's new identity, not as conquerors, but as a species that will no longer be prey-ending. Hookah transmission arrives from an unexpected source, the Torvin Collective, a federation of species who have resisted Valdran expansion for decades. They want to meet Earth. They have a proposition. Meanwhile, in Valdran Imperial space, a decision is made at the highest levels. Earth must be destroyed, no matter the cost. The Empire is mobilizing. Part 5. The New Paradigm Key Characters. All previous characters converge for the finale. Elder Wan-Su, Earth's senior statesman, provides historical perspective. The Valdran Empress, unnamed, the true power behind the Empire, appears for the first time. Plot summary. 6 months after Earth's victory, the galaxy has changed. The Battle of Earth became legend. 36 species have sent delegations to Earth, some seeking alliance, others offering tribute, hoping to be spared if humanity decides to expand. But Earth surprises everyone. Ambassador Kyung-soo announces the Terra Protocol. Earth will defend itself and its allies, but will not conquer. Earth will share defensive technology with species who want to remain free. Earth will not become the new empire. This decision stuns the galactic community. Power is usually taken, not restrained. The Torvin Collective embraces Earth's proposal.